love, everyone. Thank you for watching another episode with Ama G Ascensions. I am Ama. I am a Kundalini Reiki practitioner, holistic birth doula, postpartum fertility as well. And I am also an intuitive reader. Today I have a special guest, Jim, who is a death doula. And I wanted to bring on Jim to just share her insights and experience and just to break down some of the misconceptions and taboos around death so we as a society and people can get more comfortable with death, right? Or transitioning because death doesn't really exist. And to get to know someone who actually works really closely with those who are about to transition to the other side. So I'm going to allow Jim to introduce herself and then we're going to get into the interview.
Hi, my name is Jim. So I'm a deaf doula. I'm a Reiki master teacher. I'm a mother. Um, I really love what I do, and I love how in alignment it is with where we are as a collective. And I feel like the things that I provide are so necessary because there's so much fear and anxiety just around so many things, and we're all going through so many things as a collective. So I feel like it's imperative to facilitate safe spaces and have safe conversations to really help people, reprogram their thinking because we really live in an upside down reality. So, we're taught these things that are just so incorrect. So I just love being the bridge and the gateway into these different realms so that people can gain um, just the real understanding and understanding just about how all of this works because, life and death are the same, you know, two sides of the same thing. So, um, yeah, that's a little bit about me and just why, I really enjoy what I do.
All right. Thank you so much for introducing yourself. So my first question I want to know is when did you start getting into deaf doula work, and is there a story behind it of how you like what led your spirit to be called on this path? When did you know? Did it start from young? Did it start doing a spiritual awakening in your life? Like how did you know that this was the path for you?
Honestly, early on, so I grew up with my grandmother. Early on, we were watching some like documentary and death came up and she had kind of explained it. And I had always just been curious. I was never really fearful. I just wanted to know, like, okay, so where do we go then? I always was just curious, just about the other side. And I had unknowingly acted as a deaf doula for my grandmother as she had transitioned. She had cancer for about 10 years. And I was, like her and I are born on the same day. So, we have a real solid and spiritual and soulful connection. She's still one of my guides to this day. She's with me every day. We talk every day, but she really helped guide me into this deaf doula work. And I didn't even know what I was doing. Um, so through her stages, I would just really be supportive of her journey by going with her to chemo. We would do nature walks. We would go to support groups, and I just really just made her feel comfortable through just her end of life cycles and her end of life journey. Like we were able to talk about any and everything. I helped her, be relieved of anxieties and just fears, and I just really made her feel okay. Like she didn't feel like she was holding on to anything. It felt like it was pretty easy for her to let go because she felt like, she had, you know, a pretty amazing life. And, I just reminded her of that. I remember making her cards and posters of us and just all of her journeys and just, everything she always talked about, just always circled back to just everything. So it just made so much sense. And also, another thing that sparked the calling is my partner. He transitioned in the end of 2023 in July. So he was my partner of 2 years, and he is my son's father. We have a very close soul bond and relationship, and he still works with me to this day. We still talk every day. He's one of my teacher guides. So I feel like death is one of the great awakeners, because as the loved one on the other side awakens, so does the family and the individuals as well. And also with me being with him while he transitioned, a lot of wisdom and a lot of knowledge transferred over to me energetically. So it just really just woke up. I really just woke up and just realized, like, okay, I know exactly what I'm here to do. It was pretty clear before, but now that was like the last thing. Like, okay, like you have to get it with this one. So, because it really transformed my whole reality. When everything happened, it wasn't like a sadness, because it was like on a soul level. I just knew, even in the days leading up to it, because when I would be away from him, like we would have like this telepathic communication, and I could just tell like something was going on, something was happening. Like his spirit would be talking to me while he wasn't with me, so I just knew. So when everything went down, um, I really just facilitated a space for him to transition into the light in the best way that I knew. I called upon my guides. I called one of my friends to kind of distance Reiki us and to just really help us until the ambulance got there and everything. And I really just held the space, because I just knew. I just knew on a soul level that, okay, this is really unexpected, but, this is his time. Let's roll with it. And he just really solidified everything for me, and just that whole experience, because through this process in the beginning I did not have the support that I needed to properly grieve, so I had to really facilitate that space for myself. So it made me want to teach others what I learned about myself in that process of grief, and that I went through a lot of dark things, because his family and everything. A lot of people grieve differently, and they're upset and they're angry. And when things are unexpected, a lot gets pushed onto you. So it was like I was kind of being blamed for certain things, which I know for a fact, like there was nothing that I did wrong. And yeah, it was just people were being really hard on me at that time. So it really caused me to go inward. It was really a part of my dark night of my soul to help me really just learn how to transmute this darker energy, so I could be that light for other people eventually. But that's everything that truly sparked like the death doula path. So it was always there. I just didn't know.
Powerful. Thank you so much for sharing that. And as someone, like when you're a deaf doula and you go through your own grief, do you feel like it's easier? Like grief is never easy, so I don't even know if that's the right word. But do you feel like you are equipped with the tools when you deal with someone close to you transitioning, opposed to someone who's maybe not comfortable with death? Do you think it's a smoother, I don't even a smoother process? Of course, if we lose anybody in our life, it's always going to be tough, right? You're going to go through your stages and phases, and then even as time passes on, grief can still creep up. But I feel like a lot of times we try to hold on tightly. Do you feel like it's easier for you to let them go as a deaf doula when you lose close loved ones?
Absolutely. With losing physically two people that I consider like soulmates and soul family, um, I feel like at first it was a little bit hard, but then I just had to really realize and remember what this all is, and realize that they didn't go anywhere. It's just now I have to tune into their frequency and meet them at their level to connect. And and it's not personal. I feel like we take death so personal, but it's like we all play in this big role. We're all just passing through and guiding each other home. So it's imperative to try your best not to let it consume you, and really just stay grounded through the whole process, because those emotions can really take you on a trip, and take you into states of delusion, and it's very easy to lose sight of your journey because, in the beginning, it was not that easy for me because I was contemplating my own existence as well. I didn't want to be on earth as well, but I let myself feel those emotions and guided through. So as time went on, it got so much easier, it got so much clearer when I just realized like death is really just about, it's reflecting back your ability to change and transform and transmute and just ride those waves. So I truly feel like, all the souls that are here right now, we're here because we can do this. Like, we can do this work. We can handle this pain. We can transmute these things. We were given these things to as an opportunity to grow. And it's really just about your change of perspective. I really just started looking at it from different angles and realizing like this is for the betterment of both of our journeys. So there's no reason for me to feel sad. There's no reason for me to hold on to anything because you didn't go anywhere. I just have to adjust. It's literally just an adjustment. I just have to adjust to viewing level now, which also helps people stay more in tune to their spiritual path as well. So I feel like the load has definitely lightened, and I feel like I'm in a great space, and I feel like all of the darkness and things that I experienced were things that I need to experience, and I don't regret anything. I don't feel bad about it, and I'm happy that everything happened the way it did.
So, as a death doula, what are some ways that you show up to provide emotional and spiritual support for your clients or families?
I feel like for me, I really try to learn like their background and about them. So I work with astrology. I use it as a guide to really help and nurture to people. So I usually do an astrological assessment to see what ways they are receptive to healing and support and what things will work best for them. And I kind of just use that as a guide. So like for an example, I'll say I'll say a cancer, like a cancer sun type of individual. So, water signs, they're very emotional beings and they really need to find ways to find home within the world and be comforted. So I feel like for a client with that kind of placement, we really will be working within their home space. So throughout their process of grief, like I would assist them in, kind of cleaning up, maybe even bringing them some food or cooking for them and um, inviting their family over and kind of just, having good conversations and just trying to facilitate a comforting space to where we can just all talk and just be with whatever's on their mind. I feel like meditation is also really good for like the water sign type of placements. Um, and just whatever they feel comfortable with, like if it's certain music that kind of uplifts them, if it's certain foods and smells. I try to use those things to kind of ground them and anchor them back to the present moment because I just feel like that's where we need to be through that process because we can kind of get, we can kind of lose sight of just where we are on our journey because we're so caught up in just those deep and emotional feelings that take us farther away from just being here now.
I love that. I came across a video on TikTok yesterday, and it had me thinking because I feel like I've experienced something similar with someone about to transition. And the woman talked about how her great grandmother was on her deathbed, and they thought she was about to go. So, and she thought she was about to go. So they started sharing their secrets, right? Or things that been weighing heavy that they've been hiding and that they need to release, right? So she told a story about how she wished one of her sons was there, and they were like, "Which son? Like all your sons are here." But she wound up giving one of her children away, really young, and it was a whole story behind it, and nobody knew. And her grandmother went to live on 2 more years, but that death scare was for her to be able to reunite with her son before she actually transitioned. And I feel like a lot of times, people know when they're about to transition. They can feel it. They might not come out and say it, but they can feel like they get nudges and messages, right? I feel like most people get a lot of nudges and messages, even if it's not just the elderly, but even people who die young, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they probably don't know what to make of it, and they probably don't want to believe it out of fear,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of times people will stay longer than they're supposed to because they have unfinished business somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I just like, wow, that's really real. I feel like when my grandmother transitioned, she waited until she saw me to go because she wanted to tell me what was going on with her, right? And she wasn't going to go before I saw her. And that happens a lot. What do you think about that? People having unfinished business before they go, or people holding on longer than they are supposed to because there's unresolved things, or people that they need to think they need to say, or people that they need to see.
I feel like on a soul level, we make agreements with certain people. So it's like we have to have those conversations for us to move forward, like within our soul contracts and our soul growth. Certain things need to happen so that we can set our heart space free, so that we can move on to new journeys. Like if we don't tighten up those loose ends, we're gonna have to keep repeating things karmically and keep learning the same lessons. So I feel like it's imperative, and I love that people, you know, become, even though they may be scared in those moments, they just become brave and just really just let those things out. And I think those are so important because um, it's really a healing experience on an ancestral level as well, to just get those things out so that people can finally move forward and don't have to look back.
Yes, absolutely. And I feel like death doula work is so important because we don't realize how much those final days have an effect on us in the spirit realm, right? Um, and as a birth doula, I feel like death and birth are two sides of the same coin. And I'm always the one that family member comes to when they transition, right? And that's actually what made me reach out to Jim, because I got an astrology reading, and someone told me that she could see me being a mortician, and I'm like, I already know death doula work is for me. I just haven't like dived into it, but I've always been that person in my family that spirits come to. And I'm a little girl, I'm up late at night because I'm like, why is this person talking to me right now? Why is they showing me this right now? Like, what do I do with this? I don't know. I'm scared. I'm crying, and I'm sensitive. I'm gonna cry anyway, but I'm like, oh my goodness, this is a lot, because sometimes it is a lot. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think more people, like, I think what opened the door for me was my mom telling me that, my third grandmother, her funeral was in the living room. And that's how we used to do it. So if you got your own family funeral and wake inside the home, that means we were way more comfortable with death than we are now. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? Because you hands on, they're still in the home. We were dying inside the home. Now, granted, some people still die inside the home, but a lot of people don't. Like if they know their death is about to come, then they put them in hospice, right? Because we don't want to deal with that, or we feel like we have to put them in hospice because they have to give them morphine, and this is how it has to go. And I really, really appreciate people who step into this work, and who help people on the other side, because death is not the end, no matter what some may believe. And a lot of spirits are stuck because they need help, and they didn't have anyone to help usher them, because we have gone so far away from our original culture and customs and ceremonies that would help the spirits transition no matter how they died, right? Um, so thank you, thank you, thank you. My next question, do you feel like we should take more control over our burial and funeral rites, and we should get more comfortable? Or do you think like the years to come we're not going to have a choice but to get more comfortable in the face of death?
Yeah, I feel like we're be forced into that. I feel like in general we're all very uncomfortable right now as a collective. I feel like it is imperative to reclaim the burial rights because it's a reclamation of our land. Like, our land is cursed because of, beings that are just evil energetically and just want to take our power away because they see how powerful we are. So I think it's really important to reclaim that space. Me personally, my end goal, like, with this death doula work is to open my own kind of funeral space, have my own kind of cemetery, and do it in a way that just resonates with this new world that we're stepping into. Because I feel like when I always step into like the space of a burial grounds or funeral home, it's always an uneasy energy for me because I feel like those beings who are, crossing over, like you said, like they're having a hard time like being guided into the light. Like sometimes we have those in betweeners that kind of stick around because they're holding on to things and they feel weird or they feel fearful or there's a certain energy in that space where they transition to where it makes them a little harder because just all the negativity and then all the cursing that's been placed upon us ancestrally upon the land. So I feel like it's so important for us to just really just start diving deep into this and really just helping us set our ancestors free because a lot of them, well, me personally, I don't really agree with being buried. I want to be cremated personally. I don't really want any ties to this realm. I know that I'm going to always, have an energetic duty to this realm because I know, when I transition over and my son's still here, I'll be acting as a guide for him. So I'll be around. But I feel like it just makes it easier for you to, just be free and just move on because, when they get over there, they have to go through, a soul review and assessment and just go through a bunch of things. And the lighter your load is, the easier your soul journey is. And, the less you have to come back and interact with this realm and you can do it from, a higher vibratory frequency. So I feel like it's imperative for us to just face our fears now and really just go towards doing all of those things and just saying fuck it. Like let's just go and like just let's take everything back that's ours. Let's remember everything and let's just really get back into those spaces, with strength and call upon our ancestors to help guide us through these realms so that we can really just help each other out because at the end of the day, like we're all so deeply interconnected. It's imperative for us to find ways to just get into those spaces.
So do you feel like when people are buried they are stuck in this realm to a certain extent?
To a certain extent, yes. They're of course they're, energetically free because they're no longer there, but um, it can make it harder for them to just evolve on their soul path because they'll just feel just they'll just still feel connected like to this realm when they're really just trying to move forward with their path. I don't think it's a negative thing, but I feel like it's just best for us to just just move free because at the end of the day, like this is just a costume, this is just, something we're just hopping in and hopping right out of. So it's like, we kind of be fooling ourselves and, falling into these illusions of who that really was. But, you were just passing through. So I feel like it just makes it easier to remember who you are, like on a soul level and collectively this big thing that you're a part of. I just feel like it lightens the load for the families as well. I feel like it helps them move forward as well without that physical attachment being there. I feel like it can act as a barrier or a blockage point at times, especially depending on how that person passed as well. Because me personally, I never really agreed with like viewing the body because I mean like the fluids and things that they pump people up with, it's just it just doesn't sit right with me. It's unnatural. It's kind of weird. That's not who they were, and nobody wants to remember them in that way. Because some things, end up tragic. So I feel like it's just an energetic load. It could just be heavy, and I just feel like we need to travel as light as possible and move forward with our journeys in the best way that we can, and be more connected and attached to these things. Because at the end of the day, it's just a mask. So like, if we're attaching ourselves to that thing, it's gonna hold us back in some kind of way.
Now, it's interesting you say that about embalming and viewing the body because in some Asian cultures, they actually preserve the body and they keep the body. Now, I'm sure their process is not, it's not like ours. So, I don't know if you ever watch videos of it, but they'll have their ancestors sitting up with them on the couch, you
Wow.
know, and they're just there,
Wow.
and me seeing how Asian cultures, not just Asian cultures, and some, well, yeah, these are still Asians, but another part of Asia, I've seen where they are like carrying their ancestor, but they like some people smoke them, so it's different things that they do where they still preserve the body, and then some of them they dress them up and they have them, sitting there, and that's how they honor them. And it just opened my mind to like, wow, like they are not afraid of, this flesh that they preserved or these bones that they preserved and this body. Like that's my great great grandmother and I love her and I'm gonna sit here and we're gonna celebrate, we're gonna have dinner and you know, we're gonna honor this phase that she's in. And it just opened my mind up to like, whoa, we have no idea what like the different forms of honoring death around the world because America took over the way it is done now. I believe ancestral times here, like, well, I'm not in, well, I'm in America, but I'm in Central America. I believe that they still bury. Now I don't, but of course, even in America, there was 250 tribes, so I don't know if every tribe did their burial rites the same way. But it's really interesting to me, to learn about the way other cultures handle death and their burial rites and how they go into ceremony. Some people go into ceremony for weeks, praying, chanting, drumming, dancing to help that spirit and I think it's really really important, and something that's not really talked about enough is even with like people coming into spirituality and us relearning the things that maybe our great great greats didn't pass down to us out of assimilation and fear, is that a lot of times people aren't really making it to the ancestral realm, and I think that plays a big part in their transition and us helping them go over, so
Mm.
definitely. Um, Now, is there anything that you would, or any advice that you would give someone who is interested in getting into death doula work?
Hmm. I feel like getting clear on your why is very important because it's very intentional. This is very, sacred work, very intense work as well. And also just making sure that you're in a space where you can take care of yourself because, energetically it can get heavy. And as long as you have the tools to, just take care of yourself on a daily basis and hold space for yourself after you're holding space for others so that you can, be able to replenish yourself and put that energy right back, to them and to you. Um, and also really just doing your research and learning about the different, cultures and religions so that you can attend to clients' needs better. Because I feel like a challenge that can come up is, people's belief system. So it's like you want to be clear on certain things so that you don't offend anybody. Because at the end of the day, it's about making them feel safe and honoring what they want. And just making sure that you have that energetic boundary to where you don't let your beliefs come out and try to change anybody else's way of thinking. Yeah, just and keeping an open mind and really just becoming knowledgeable about as much as you can when it comes to the backgrounds and with your clients as well. Just asking those questions and just making sure that your boundaries are solidified.
I love that. And lastly, I want to ask, what advice would you give to, I know you said to make sure you have, your own tools set up to make sure you pour back into yourself. Is there any specific tools or advice that you would give to someone who is interested in becoming a death doula, as far as how not to take on the emotional weight and take that home with you? I think a lot of people, even myself, this is thoughts that I've had as, wow, I'm really sensitive, right? And I know I'm sensitive, and I know I do, like, the connections that I make with people matters. And I know that if a family starts breaking down, I can't guarantee that I won't cry, but I know I would be able to hold it together.
Mm-hmm.
So, is there any advice or specific tools that you would give to either deaf doulas who may be struggling with this, or even people who are interested in becoming a deaf doula, to not become too emotionally attached? Is that a thing?
I feel like it definitely can become a thing because I feel like with your clients, they become like lifelong friends because you're assisting them. And, grief is not a linear thing. So I feel like with my clients, like I want them to be able to call on me whenever. Like I'm open to that because I'm acting as a guide. I'm helping you through those realms. But I feel like for me personally, when I started this journey, what really helped me is I created a community space for myself, so that others can pour into me as well. Other practitioners who do other work, it could be other doulas as well. And just having that space to where you can talk about your experiences and release those things. And I feel like on a physical level, sleep, sleep and baths are my energetic cleansing. Sleep is so imperative because I mean the whole process of it is to detoxify your body and to astral travel and get those messages and come back. And baths are so important because I mean water is that emotional energy and it really does cleanse you like from the inside out. Salt baths are so imperative within my routine. I feel like it really helps take those just to load off and just release any attachments that I have. And I feel like also just praying over yourself and over your space wherever you're working. And also, if you're tapped into like your guides, just asking them to kind of just be as a shield, around you energetically so that you don't take anything that's yours. And of course, taking some things like to cleanse or smoke your area if your clients are comfortable with that, or doing it when you leave, and finding ways to just ground yourself is really important too. Because at the end of the day, you have to remember that then at the end of the day, a lot of this is not really real. So you really just have to go back to yourself and just remind yourself, okay, these are things and experiences I'm using to grow. And that's it, that's all. And I feel like that's what helps me separate myself from that. So yeah, the community, rest, the baths, smudging and cleansing, and calling upon your people to act as that shield for you and to protect you, and really just speaking life into everything that you do to help you just stay uplifted energetically so that you can balance that light and that dark energy because it does get dark. Yeah, I feel like those are the things.
Yes, thank you so much, Jim, for sharing your insights, your love, and wisdom as it pertains to death doula work. For anyone who will be watching this later, I will be putting all of Jim's link in the description below so that you can reach out to her. Please tell them what areas you service, Jim, so if people wanted to, get some assistance or hire someone as a death doula, either for themselves or for their family, they'll know how to find you.
So I'm based in Cleveland Heights, Ohio, but I am willing to travel as well. So it's really up to you guys, and I can do things over Zoom as well. As a Reiki practitioner, I do distance Reiki work a lot. I don't have to be there physically with you to help you heal and assist you. So it's whatever works best for what you would like. So thank you.
Yes. I love that. I love that. Thank you so much for coming on. And peace and love to everybody who is watching. Don't be afraid to ask any questions below. And if you want to reach Jim directly, I will be linking her social media platforms so that you can find her. Peace, y'all.
Thank you.